Diggity dog, we are ready to go.
We're ready to go. Recording has started.
Indeed.
In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who stand between us and the unknown horrors that lie just beneath the surface. Are they witches? Are they scarlet witches? Or are they always the most evil of all, the agents of sword? Here we find out. Enough said. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is my skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz. Welcome once again back to the show, to the penultimate, take a drink, or take a vape, episode of WandaVision. Oh, man. Yeah, season 1, episode 8.
Wow.
Previously on, Wanda embarks on a troubling journey, revisiting her past for insight into her present and future. Our director, of course, is the great Matt Shakman. That's his name. Matt Shakman is our director. Our writing credits this week are for Laura Donnie, gets our written by. Jack Schaefer, of course, gets our created for television by. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, they get our good old Wanda Maximoff created by credits. And, of course, Roy Thomas, he is the creator of the Vision. It's not Ultron, no matter what you said, although he actually had help from John Buscema as well. Jack Schaefer, of course, is the head writer as well as the creator. Peter Cameron is our executive story editor, along with Bobak S. Farjani, and Mackenzie Dorr. So everyone got a promotion this week, it sounds like. Megan McDonnell, Laura Donnie, and Cameron Squires. Those are just our good old hard-working staff writers over there at WandaVision. Okay, so this episode is another great episode of the series. An episode that really... You know, obviously a lot of people are going to be walking into this and they're going to be saying that, gee, clearly Agatha all along, and now this, her evilness is secured. I'm still not convinced. And I have a very specific reason why, because I get the feeling that we're given a misdirection in the very first scene, because we open up in Salem, Massachusetts.
He seems like a happy bystander.
Well, you know what it is? Because, in that scene, they say, oh, but she killed her entire coven. It's like, well, the entire coven that was trying to kill her all died. And I think that there's this question of, did she kill the coven, or did the coven die trying to kill her?
And I got the sense that she was absorbing all of their powers. And I think what made me, what I thought of in that moment was, so that's probably what she wants from Wanda. She wants to suck out all her power so she can become more powerful. Eat your magic.
See, but I think that's, yeah. Sorry, just the COVID. Yeah, we joke because we hope can work. Sorry. But the thing is, I get the feeling that it's a little too on the nose, and it's a little too presented a certain way. The magic is saying, hey, look at this. Doesn't this look like a thing? But really, like I said, this is a situation where these other witches were going to kill Agatha. And essentially what happens is they are shooting their blue magic at her, and then her purple magic comes out and essentially defends her. Now, here's the question. Did she drain them of their blue magic, or did they just exhaust all the energy they had trying to kill her, and it killed them? Because even after it, Agatha is still talking to her mother saying, I can be good. And it is just this idea that it doesn't seem like she is trying to be the villain. It seems like people are... Now, yes, she is lying. Well, actually, she's not lying, because they're saying you stole magics above your station. And she says, I didn't break your rules. I just made them bend to me. Which, if we think about our current mystic protagonist, Doctor Strange, that's literally what he did too. He didn't break the rules, but he decided to use various things, including the Time Stone, to give himself the ability to, and again, against people's wishes, to give himself the ability to study more, be more, and be the Sorcerer Supreme. So I get the feeling that, well, everyone is looking to cast Agatha as the bad guy. I actually think that what we're seeing is true, that she's there, but she's actually literally just there to learn.
Yeah, I got the sense that she was like a hyena trying to steal a piece of leg meat from the lions.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, that's the truth of it. One of the things, there's been a lot of talk of, including Shackman saying, I feel really bad because a lot of people are going to be so disappointed because there's all these theories and all these ideas. Like, we didn't do any of that. I'm sorry, or at least that's what he says.
Fair enough.
But I still think, because I still think that there are the mysteries that they do need to solve.
Right. We didn't get any Monica Rambeau in this episode, right?
No Monica Rambeau.
Huh.
We only get the big reveal with Hayward at the very end. And again, that's what I said. It's like, to me, if anyone is the villain, it is Hayward is the villain. Because Hayward is clearly manipulating Wanda when they have their meeting, because we do see that here. We actually see, sure. And then we see that Hayward manipulated everyone else with what actually happened at that meeting.
Absolutely. But I always got the sense that he was just getting the job done, telling people what they needed to hear so the job could be done. And I think at heart, he's doing it for patriotic reasons, for reasons. I mean, he might be misguided, but I don't think he's doing it for evil reasons. I think he thinks he's doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, and that is the, I mean, that's the classic question. If I do bad things, but because I really want it to be good, because I have a good intent. I mean, but I
think when you use the word evil, it implies sort of like,
well, I mean,
that you're doing something bad. Here, I think it's again, much like maybe Agatha is a bystander in this situation. He just has to deal with it the only way he knows how.
Well, I think that the situation is that literally every supervillain says it's for the best. Dr. Doom doesn't want to be an evil dictator, even though he is. It's just that's the only way you fools will listen. And that's the thing. It's like,
yeah, I see what you're saying, but I mean, like when you say evil, you think of like people robbing banks, raping and pillaging.
Well,
that sort of thing. You don't have like a justification for that, but for like, maybe I'm not.
I will say this as a fan of cowboy narratives, I will tell you that the gentleman bank robber is a very real trope. And so the idea of the guy
but to me, that guy I could see as being evil, Well,
I mean, yeah, a bank robber could be evil. A bank robber usually is
but that's
evil.
Certainly, I'd say more evil than what Hayward is doing, if he's doing it with the intention of saving humanity.
Well, but that's the thing. Is he doing it for the intention of saving humanity, or is he just trying to get the bigger bomb? And that's the thing. And this is what I said, and this is why, like, to me, the real money after the snap was people trying to figure out how the snap worked, how to re-snap, and how to snap other people when they get in your way later, to have a snap gap, if it were. And for what it's worth, I get the feeling they were doing a lot of snap research prior to this because of the device. Yeah, because of the device they had at the end that is able to essentially take Wanda's energy to feed it back into the actual Vision body.
Now that part was a little goofy to me. I mean,
well,
all
but
right, fair
but
enough.
that's yeah. I mean, fair enough. It was a little weird, but it shows you that essentially they knew enough about these energies that they could pull this off of something that was residual. And you'll remember that they actually had some of these residual energies on what's her name, Monica's clothes too, that they also had stored away, but maybe they didn't have the device to put it into yet, and that's why literally what they like. Okay, because I don't want to get too far ahead, but really, from what we see in this episode, it seems very clear that Hayward had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Hayward's plan was to get Wanda to use her powers to reanimate the Vision so that the Vision could be used as a sentient weapon.
Against superhumans.
Against his enemies, whoever they might be. And that is the thing. It is just this idea that, he clearly knows enough to get this person to do this thing for him, that he knows enough about the science of it that is what he's asking. Now,
that's why that's his job.
Well, but does that mean it's like this, if I'm a gentleman bank robber, robbing banks is my job, that doesn't mean I'm a good person.
Well, no, that's not your job. That's your hobby. You don't have a job.
No. If you're robbing banks, that's your job.
Well,
if you don't rob a bank, you don't
compels you to show up at the bank with a gun, at the danger of your freedom.
Well, nobody compels you. Nobody compels you to manipulate an Omega level super being.
Sure.
To try and get them to create another Omega level super being that you may then be able to use against them.
Seems to me like the United States government compelled them to do that.
Well, the United States government told him to observe sentient weapons, to do a job around the idea of sentient weapons.
You think that's all they told him? You think the rest of it was his?
Well, no, I think that exactly his method to do it and his method to use and manipulate Wanda, because for what it's worth, they didn't even know Wanda was coming back.
Yeah, but when you're talking about like the kind of beings that can create whole worlds, that can, we just saw the snap. I don't think that's an overreaction to think, hey, what are we going to do the next time? We better come prepared next time. So
and again, that's why I said I can see
by any means necessary.
I can see snap technology. I can see major studying of the Vision's body because he was at ground zero on a snap, and he is made of vibranium, which absorbs energies. All of these things, it is perfectly logical within the framework of we have to understand snap technology.
Right.
We need to be able to be prepared for the next snap, and maybe even create a snapping device of our own.
Right, but not a weapon. A weapon is
because his intention was literally to create, to bring Vision back online.
Right.
And that is where it gets to be that is a violation of what he should, what his, well, I don't know if it is a violation, but to me, that's when he actually crosses a line, and that he specifically says, this is a violation. In fact, he actually even suggests, so he lies to everyone on his team to say that Wanda stole Vision's body. Although, to be specific, I believe what he actually says, she broke into the sword building. He edits the footage to make it look like it was an aggressive action, and in this episode we see it was not an aggressive action, although she was very frustrated, and she does open the door herself, just to assert her own dominance on it. Although, again, I do find that interesting parallel, again, with Monica Rambeau being made to wait when Hayward knows they're there, knows what's happening, but is intentionally putting them on their back foot. The difference is that the only reason Wanda isn't going in is because she is being polite. She is showing, I am not a crazy monster. I am actually a sane woman who wants to understand what they're doing with my husband's body. And to that extent, there is this idea that, because she only goes in after they've authorized her to go in. So at that point, she doesn't break in. She literally just walked in. Yes, she forced the door, but the fact of the matter is she was invited in at that point. Unless you're going to say the lock was actually damaged, you can't really say that she actually did damage the door because she literally just unlocked it. Same way that if she had a key card, she could have unlocked it. You know, so really on every level, Hayward is spinning a narrative to other people, which, for what it's worth, also puts them at a disadvantage in solving the case. Because it does look like he is literally trying to recreate Vision, which is, you know, and you can say that is his actual goal or that is his obligation, but he is doing so without informing his teammates of what they're trying to do, or even with informing Wanda. Well, but you know what? But here's what I tell you: that's bad management.
I don't think so. He's getting the job done, you know. And
not really. He cost an entire town, and it only happened because Wanda had this breakdown.
But for years they've been trying to get Vision back online. Put this guy on it. We got Vision back online, man.
Well, no, actually, this guy has been
mission accomplished.
This guy has been on it for 3 years at this point,
right?
I believe.
Hey, and he got Vision back online.
Well, only.
You know, he's not a bad.
I mean, again, I'm not. Like I said, I don't think you can argue. I don't think you can honestly argue that his method was the most practical. I would say that the actual best method would be to have reached out to Wanda and to say, you know, we have Vision's body. We actually think you could help him. You could heal him.
Sure.
That you have this power, and we would like you to do that. You know, and that might have actually.
I could look at, you know, what we could have done, but like reality in fact is he got his vision.
Well, he has a vision, and that vision,
it's probably
for all we know, could be Ultron.
Probably better that way.
Well, yeah, because it's a non-sentient weapon, basically.
He's just.
It's an AI that he can point and click. Except, again, as I always say, you know, the problem with a sentient weapon is, you know, an AK-47 can't pick itself up off the table and start shooting people.
Right.
You need a weapon that you have.
But I mean,
control
as
over.
bad as a situation as that sounds, I mean, I'm still firmly of the opinion that a being of that level walking around is way bigger of a threat than and it's perfectly understandable to consider that person such a gigantic threat that lying to your teammates would be acceptable to accomplish a goal of.
Well, which one, Vision or Scarlet Witch?
Scarlet Witch.
You think, okay, but see, I okay, and that's fair. That's fair. Let us simply say it isn't the superheroic way, and we can
for sure not.
We can leave it at that, you know, and that goes to the question about whether or not
your ear, putting sand in your face kind of technique, but
yeah,
sometimes you need it.
Yeah, fair enough. But anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down in the end of the episode because we actually get a lot at the start of this episode.
Fair enough.
Including, we get the first implication that Wanda did have powers before. That she actually was able to cause a hex, a probability hex, that an untrained person, but just with so much magical potential, that she caused the bomb not to explode. You know, and that is because as is pointed out, you know, Stark bombs, for whatever else they do explode. Even the one that did land and didn't go off immediately next to Tony Stark in the movie does blow up.
Right.
You know, it didn't detonate on impact.
But do we know that after Wanda left the area, if it blew up or not?
Well, we don't necessarily know.
Position is it still just a theory saying, "Hey, maybe she prevent"? Is that all?
Well, no, because Agatha specifically says it's a probability hex. So Agatha says, so here we have a baby witch.
All right, fair enough.
So she is basically observing this, and to this extent, you actually also have that first thing where Agatha is trying to understand, and this is where I get my point of I don't think Agatha is doing something malevolent towards Wanda. She is being, and the way I like to think about it, it's like if you were dealing with a very dangerous, mentally ill person, but that you had to deal with. And the thing is that sometimes you've got to force a reality test on them. You sometimes have to talk them through things. But at the same time, the assumption that because here's the thing, if she just wanted to steal her power, her raw power, she has her locked in her little dungeon. And she says, only I can do magic here. But it's clear that it's not, she doesn't just want the power. She wants to know how she unlocked the power. Because as she says, how do you not know the basics? How do you not know that these runes mean only I can cast magic in this circle? It's clear that she is trying to understand what's going on. And I think if it was just
unworthy has gotten their hands on this power, which is something she has probably been seeking for a very long time.
Well, but
She's
again,
like, how dare you? You don't even know what you're doing. How does it end up in you? Give it to me. It belongs to me.
I mean, maybe, or maybe
that's what
it's. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. If you want to assume, and this is something, I tell people this all the time, never assume the negative unless someone is being actively negative.
I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me. So I'm not assuming this way or that. I'm just saying that's what it looks like to me.
Well, yeah, and to me as a storyteller, I say it looks like someone wanted us to see that.
Fair enough.
Someone wanted us to see this situation in this negative light. And again, I could be completely wrong. We may get a cackling, it really was me all along. I am Agnes and I am evil, blah, blah, blah. That could be how they end it. I just think, like I said, I don't think Agnes is the big bad.
I don't think so either, but I think it'd be easy to relegate her as just like a side story that allows you to be occupied with something so you don't see who the bad guy in the background is doing the other things that have nothing to do with her intentions.
Yes. Right? Actually, I have a theory of who is really behind Westview, really behind everything that happened, and why Wanda really doesn't understand why it happened. And it goes back to the episode we saw of, what was it called? Now in Color. Which is that when Wanda starts to express her pregnancy, her powers start to fritz. And things start happening that she can't control. And the thing is that when that happened on Bewitched, it was largely suggested that this was what Tabitha was doing. That Tabitha, the baby witch, the unborn witch, was the one who was making her powers go on the fritz. That it was this baby within her. And that leads me to this secondary question, which is, was Wanda pregnant before the snap? And by Vision. Vision, as Paul Bentley has told us, has a penis. It is purple and it is magnificent, he says. Paul Bentley, when specifically asked, he says, yes, he has a penis. And
yeah, but is that an interview joke or is that like a serious comment?
Well, here's what I'll tell you. From what we've learned about Disney, they're very specific about what you're supposed to and not supposed to say.
Right, but Paul Bettany also said he's looking forward to working with this actor, and now it's looking like he really meant himself. So,
Well, you know what? But the fact of the matter is, that still hasn't been revealed.
Fair enough.
I'm a big fan of that it's actually Dick Van Dyke's going to have a little scene with him.
Oh, that would be interesting. That would be pretty cool.
Yes, and for what it's worth, that might be what it was. Is because someone had said, "Oh, well, who would he have been wanting to work with his whole life?" It's like, "Oh, you know what? He probably would have wanted to work with Dick Van Dyke his whole life, because Dick Van Dyke is an actor that, as a young man, you would want to work with." And he has worked with Dick Van Dyke in this, so really, the idea that he and Dick Van Dyke might want, and Dick Van Dyke, they revealed that he came down to the set. He was an advisor on it. The idea of them putting Dick Van Dyke into a scene, and for what it's worth, it's one of these fun little bits where, you know, when you talk about the Luke Skywalker scene, they can do that very easily with Dick Van Dyke because there is a lot of Dick Van Dyke video out there that they could put Dick Van Dyke into a scene and digitally refurbish him.
I wonder if it's easier to render in black and white than it would be in color. It must be, obviously, right?
Yeah, one imagine so. And one could imagine that, the Dick Van Dyke character shows up as, as Wanda's spirit guide, or as Wanda and Vision's spirit guide. There's any number of things they could put in there. And so something like that really does strike you as that could be awesome. But we see in this series... So anyway, my thing with Billy and Tommy being preconceived, which means, and here's the thing, you can even still put it on Wanda's magic or the power of the Mind Stone, that these two beings, both powered by the Mind Stone, both in this moment of whatever their sex life is, create something within Wanda. But of course, this happens like a week before. We see them in bed together a week before the snap, and then we know that it's only been like a few weeks. In fact, we know it's been exactly 3 weeks after the snap. So we're about a month into this pregnancy, which would be why she doesn't know she's pregnant yet. But then as soon as she realizes it, and again, 5 years in snap space, her and whatever child she and the Vision had created in whatever those cosmic background radiation, whatever that cosmic background radiation snap space energy is, they come out, and now she is there. She's having this emotional thing, and this thing within her is also having that emotional moment. And that is why when they go to, so if you haven't seen the show, I'm sorry if we're jumping around, but so we have this thing where we find out that Vision had bought them a plot of land to build a house. And essentially, at this moment, she has this massive breakdown, this massive emotional moment where all of her power unleashes. Now, what is interesting about this is that, of course, Billy Kaplan is one of the written as super mega omega level mutants, like omega level beyond most other mutants, like Franklin Richards, who is also argued to be the reason time slides in the Marvel Universe. That time kind of moved on a very linear path for the first few years until Sue Storm gets pregnant with Franklin, and then immediately time starts to grind to a halt and starts to slow down. And that's when we start to see, the time moving differently and things kind of going out of order, and the universe sort of having to readjust itself to this omega level mutant who was conceived and is now making the universe to his identity and what he wants it to be. And in this situation, the idea that, the first thing that little Billy Kaplan does is bring his dad back. And there's also the theory that, that the Mind Stone, because the Mind Stone powered Wanda, the Mind Stone didn't disappear when Thanos snapped it. It's just that its physical embodiment disappeared, but its energies were still within the universe and were specifically housed within Wanda. And so to recreate Vision in that moment, and for what it's worth, clearly is the real Vision, because they make the point that Hayward is tracking the decay rate of vibranium. And that's how he is tracking.
I guess that becomes a question of identity and self and what makes you you. If she just conjured up more vibranium, borrowed the particles from neighboring dimensions to facilitate this thing, and she creates this vibranium out of nothing. Is the consciousness? He has no memory of being an Avenger. He has no idea what an Avenger is.
Well, the idea is, and this I think is where we're going to have the difference with the two visions, is I think that this, and I've said this before, that this is his OS. This is his operating system. But because it's not his hard drive, he doesn't have his memories. But it is the algorithm that created him. It is the program that creates him. That's his AI. Now, on the vision that we just saw reanimated by Hayward, that's all of his memories.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think you can have personality without memories. An operating system would just be, you can't have sentience in an operating system. It's just a bunch of instructions. The personality and the sentience comes from relating memories to each other, creating connections that way. So, I mean,
and again, I think that first off, comic books, or sci-fi. So we have some leeway into what we're going to say. Well, what is sentience without memory? He clearly has sentience, and he has an understanding of self and place and time, and maybe it is very basic. He knows what Westview is.
No, but yeah, certainly that's believable. But to say that is the real vision, is that a leap too far?
Well, I think what it is to say, if you get amnesia, you lose your memory, but you're still you, arguably. Anyone who
arguably, would you think you're you?
Well, no. I mean, I would still think I was me if I knew who I was.
Right, but
if I'm Charlie Esser,
but we're okay. I guess he does know who he is.
Yeah, so if I'm
he does remember
Esser,
Wanda.
He remembers Wanda. He remembers Westview. He knows he and Wanda live in Westview. He doesn't know how they got to Westview, but really, arguably, Wanda doesn't know either.
Right, that's what's been bugging him is that dissonance between not knowing why I'm acting this way, but I'm supposed to act this way. I love you, Wanda, but how did we meet? Blah, 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 this and that. So it is haunting him in that way.
Yes. And yes, Wanda has more memory than him, and he knows it, and it's bothering him that he doesn't have his full memory. But I think, and again, that's why I think that's what's on the white vision. I think we're going to get this little
because that is his original head and his original body, right?
Yeah. So it's
got those all memories might be in there, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So when they meet, there's going to be this question: am I the real Vision, or are you the real Vision? And I think he's going to say, I remember doing this. I remember Wakanda. I remember the battle and da 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 da. I remember, I remember the Civil War.
Vision.
Yes. Well, but that's the idea. Is that really? Now, here's the question: but here's the thing: is if they're superpowered visions, are they going to fight, or are they going to logically just say, well, clearly I have a part that you're missing, and you have the part that I'm missing. What if we just phase ourselves into one another and just become one being again? Oh, that sounds like a jolly good idea. Let's do that. And zoop, then battle's over. Sorry, people, go home. And then they go and say, so now, Mr. Hayward, you did a lot of manipulative things here. That was not very nice of you. Which would be a very anticlimactic ending unless there's more to come. And that's always the thing. And my thing with Billy is, why I think Billy was the one causing it is that we do see that that is when Wanda can't control the illusion anymore, because Billy is gaining sentience. So like when Billy first just on an emotional level triggered this in his mom, in the same way that a baby might kick and she feels it, or mom gets a craving, or mom, has the urge to nest, as they said, then it's just the baby making her body do something that she doesn't consciously necessarily want. Once the baby starts to gain its own sentience, now the baby's making things happen. And then once the baby
that was flipping the controllers, that was
I'm sorry?
When the kids were sitting there playing video games and their controllers kept going through decades and phasing from time to time to time, from a Nintendo controller to an Xbox controller to a
I think that actually literally has to do with Wanda expending the hex, and that now there's so much energy being expended.
No, but it's one thing, because he walks up, all these things are happening, and he comes up and says, Mom, my head is really loud, I don't know what to do. Yeah. And that's when those things were going crazy in that moment.
I mean, it might be. It might be this fact that he and his brother are having this conflict, and that's causing him to have trouble controlling things too. And it is just this, and we'll actually notice that, when we get to the Malcolm in the Middle episode, the Halloween Spectacular, it is actually Billy who does the fourth wall break. I mean, there are so many levels on this that we really have no idea, because someone is broadcasting this. That's the thing. It'd be one thing if it was just a fantasy world within the dome, but it seems to be that it is creating this specific signal out. And
it's editing the signal to a certain intent.
Yes. And we don't know now, and that's the thing. It's like maybe Wanda is the editor, and that's sort of the thing, that's an interesting idea in that, which, when we think about a TV show, there are all these people who work on it. So there is a director and a producer and, a writer and an editor who fits pieces together for whatever reason to tell a story. And that is, so who is the editor? That's really the question. We don't need to know who the author is. We should want to ask, who is the editor? And maybe that's Dick Van Dyke's character, Maybe Dick Van Dyke is the man thing.
That'd be hilarious.
That would be great. I mean, there's so many things you could do with this. And like I said, Dick Van Dyke, he's still a very active and spry 970-year-old man. I could absolutely see him showing up in here, and it would be a really great cameo just to have that. Another fun fact in this, because of course we get that first scene in Sokovia. When they do, that's the first place they go back to. The episode that they're watching of the Dick Van Dyke Show is It May Look Like a Walnut. And this is a reference to an episode of Dick Van Dyke where essentially Dick Van Dyke has a horrible, horrible dream where the Earth gets invaded by aliens who take other people's shapes. And that's sort of like, oh, well, that's an interesting relationship to, the secret invasion we know that is coming. The secret invasion that may be a part of this, because we do know, I mean,
we've already seen a couple of possible Skrulls, right?
I mean, well, that's the thing.
Are they Kree?
They could. I mean, really, Hayward could be a Kree. And that's a whole other thing. I mean, that would be the big twist, is Hayward reaches out to Kree Central Command. Like, yes. So,
now see, then I would say, okay, fine, he's evil.
Mm-hmm. Or just doing what's best for the Kree Galactic Empire.
Right. No. But if the character of Hayward would be considered evil because he's not representing the ethos that he's representing, that he's publicly on the face of, like
he's doing what's best for the world, but
that's not in this case who he's working for. So it's like in that case, then it would be like he'd be a double agent. Then he knows he's doing something wrong. Here, I don't think he knows he's doing something wrong, right?
Yeah, I mean, no. And again, he thinks he's doing. Let's say I won't say that he doesn't know he's doing something right. I will say he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Right. Whereas from a relativistic perspective, of what's right for us versus what's right for them. From our perspective, we're looking at it in that sort of lens. I don't think he's evil. But if he was working for them, then from our lens, he would definitely be considered evil. Well, that's how I would delineate it.
Although that's my favorite Dormammu quote. Or a quote about Dormammu, which is when Doctor Strange first encounters Dormammu. He says, he is evil, but only by our mortal moral understanding of that word. Mm-hmm. And of course, Dormammu is another person who has been brought up in this because Dormammu's magic is purple and was described as dark magic. And it is this question, is Agatha a natural conduit to the dark dimension, but does that mean she's evil? And that is that weird middle ground, because as as I will point out, all magicians use the magic of Cyttorak. And in fact, in recent things, they have Doctor Strange invoking Dormammu left and right. So using that magic, that energy, that's just a tool. It's not whether or not you're using that tool, it's how are you using that tool. In fact, as was pointed out, the Ancient One was using that dark magic as well. And so I really feel that is this idea that there is this magic that is not bound to a moral structure that people are utilizing for their purposes, but that other people get real judgmental about. That's not the kind of magic you're supposed to use, but that's the magic that spoke to her. That's the magic that she could feel and see around her. And so, like Mordo, who is a villain in Doctor Strange and is looking to stop magic users, her coven is like Mordo. They see someone who is using magic and isn't following their rules of magic, so they're going to kill her. That she, in self-defense, kills them, arguably, perhaps, is just the outcome that had to happen because she was just that powerful of a natural adept of a witch, just like Wanda. But Wanda is even more so because Wanda is literally the Scarlet Witch. That this is a legendary witch.
Witch was her mom that before?
Well, in the comic books, it's sometimes now said that. I mean, it's very
point that she was like the power crown was on her head.
Oh yeah, well she has the blue power crown, yes, and that crown seems to be a magical sign of importance in the witch community. And as people pointed out, that after Agatha's mother dies, Agatha doesn't have the crown. So that crown is something that you don't just get. It's not just power-wise. It's right, something
which is
else.
What makes me feel like she's terribly jealous of why Wanda has this power when she thought it was hers by right of by birthright.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a possibility.
And by what's the Klingon term for taking what you kill?
Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if it was going to, it's a question of what does someone really want? And it goes down, I mean, for what it is, it goes down to go with Shazam. It goes down to those 7 deadly sins. Are you here for jealousy? Are you here for envy? Okay. Are you here for gluttony because you just want more and more? Are you here for pride, for envy, for anger, for wrath? What are the things that are driving you? And if what is really just driving you is honestly knowledge, which maybe that is it. Maybe she is just trying to get knowledge. So that's what you can put best motivation, just like you want to put on Hayward. You want to put best motivations of patriotism and doing the job that needs to be done. You can put on Agatha best intentions of just wants to know what's going on, wants to know how she has this power, realizes that, you're basically a living atom bomb and you have no training whatsoever. This is a bad combination. Oh, and you just made another little atom bomb because he could tell he couldn't read me. And he's like way more intuitive than you ever were. And like, you think you're the Scarlet Witch, but really this little guy is so much bigger. And this little guy is young enough, like a youngling, like a proper youngling, to be able to train. So I think that there is an aspect of this where, because again, it's not like she killed the children. She clearly didn't. She didn't make them disappear. She captured them. And even now, she has them in a situation where the children are being restrained, but she's still trying to talk it out with Wanda. That's why I think there is more to it than that. We do have her having her interaction with the Mind Stone. Of course, that's where she sees the vision of the Scarlet Witch, which is a very House of M designed Scarlet Witch. which actually I haven't heard a lot of people make that point, that she's wearing a skirt, like a very long skirt, which was a House of M design. Because she was royalty then, so she had her princess gown on. Although, interestingly, when we met Wanda in X-Men Days of Future Past, she was also wearing a princess gown. So, more XU crossovers there. Now, we do get the fact that she says that Agatha says that Pietro is Pietro. But this is what's interesting about it. She says it wasn't necromancy because his body was on another continent and full of holes. But she still calls it a crystalline possession, which is interesting because it suggests there's a person there that she is possessing when he's being her eyes and ears. And also note, she says eyes and ears, not mouth. Meaning that what Pietro is telling her is probably what Pietro was saying.
She's just listening.
She's just listening to it. So she's doing this crystalline possession where she's seeing through Pietro's eyes and ears. But that's really Pietro in that moment.
I don't think that's fake Pietro. I think it's an actual Pietro just from another universe.
Yeah, Tristan is going with the other universe theory on that, which is a common idea, and there's a lot of reasons to think that's true. And we will probably find that out next episode because, unfortunately, we don't see how that scene between Pietro and Monica resolves after Monica looks in the basement, can see the magical vines, and also has her own eyes turn violet, the same color, as Pietro shows up. Yes, what do you want to say, Tristan?
I just want to say that she is distracted talking to Wanda, Pietro actually might have had some knowledge that maybe had a bit more free will since she was busy with Wanda right now.
Yeah, that's a good point. That basically, when he shows up and says Creeper's going to creep, that might have been literally just because, you know what, Agatha's busy. She's not controlling Pietro. Although, again, we don't know that she ever was controlling Pietro aside from just putting him in that scene.
But not spying on
And like he says, he's just there to do what he's supposed to do.
Right.
That he was brought in, he knows what his role is, and for what it's worth, that's kind of classic Quicksilver in his own way. It's just, I mean, Quicksilver can be a jerk, but the idea that he is not, well, at least it's classic X-Men Quicksilver. We'll give that caveat because I think it's far more something they developed in the X-Men than the X-Men TV show than anything else. Is this idea that, you know, he's not looking to build or destroy anything. He's just looking to be there. And again, like he says, give his sister grief. Because this is all about grieving, and this is all about Wanda's processing of her grief. And arguably, if my theory holds true, Billy's processing of his grief of having so much taken from what his life should have been. Because, you know, who knows exactly what we're dealing with here.
Because, yeah, I mean, does he even have a father to think about?
Well, he knows. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he, and that's the thing. Maybe, you know, this idea of like, oh, it's just she has that they're tracking vibranium, but also within the concept of the story, Scarlet Witch literally says their dad is the Vision. They have inherited. You know, he's made of vibranium. They have inherited thick skin, like literally thick skin, suggesting that maybe the vibranium that they're tracking is actually vibranium that is somehow within Billy and Tommy, or that there was vibranium within Wanda from their many times together that she has been able to restructure. I mean, like, exactly what it is open for interpretation. Now, there is another theory, and Tristan is a big fan of this theory, is that when they bring Vision online, he's actually going to be Ultron.
That would be amazing, because Ultron could be just hiding out in the internet somewhere and had found his way to swirl in there and said, "Ooh, they're building a body. Might as well get in that."
Well, and also, to be fair, when Ultron is destroyed, Vision is the closest structure to jump to, and he might have been too weak to dominate Vision, but he could have always been running in the background. And now that Vision's
like a
programming, that Vision's OS is gone, it could be the Ultron operating system that now reasserts itself.
Yeah.
And so we might get a little thing where it is a reveal. That would be explained why they're fighting, because it could be like, actually, no, I'm not you.
Is James Spader listed in the IMDb for this episode?
They're not going to list it yet. They haven't listed Dick Van Dyke yet either. Right, and they intentionally don't list people on the IMDb. They are very controlled. Disney is controlling, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah. Although I could see that being an actor he's wanted to work with. Oh no, he did get to work with him. Duh.
Yeah, he did work with James Spader a little bit, and they worked out well together. But they didn't have a lot of big scenes together. They really only had that last scene at the end. But so yeah, like I said, I mean, it might just be him working with himself. But I also think that's first off, that's not like I never thought it would happen. It's like, well, clearly all you need to be is in a wacky twin shenanigans show, and you get to work with yourself. I mean,
I don't think he meant it with any sort of heartfelt emotion. It was just a joke to play with people. I think that's what got him.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You say that, but I wonder.
I would love for it to not be true. I would honestly be disappointed if that is the case. I'd still laugh, because it is funny. I'd appreciate the joke, but I would appreciate the payoff much more.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing is, Shackman did this whole big thing about, oh, I'm so sorry that you were disappointed by the aerospace engineer. At the same time, he never denies that we've seen the aerospace. He never denies it. He just sort of plays into, oh yeah, I guess Goodner was the aerospace engineer, huh? I guess that was very disappointing. Sorry about that, which doesn't even address whether or not, okay, so even if Goodner was the aerospace engineer, is she also a Skrull? Like, is there more to this story than you've told? So, again, gotta remember, Jimmy Woo, master of close-up magic, Just don't forget how important Jimmy Woo is in this story, and close-up magic and misdirection, because everything is misdirection in this story. And and again, as we saw with Hayward, the whole point was to misdirect the scene, to present facts that direct people in a certain way, not necessarily to inform them of what's really going on. And that's sort of my takeaway on the whole thing. Do you have any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
No, I think we covered everything.
We've covered a lot, Mozz, and there's just a lot to get through, and there's one more episode to go.
Now, I heard rumors that it was going to be like an hour and a half long or something. Is that?
I mean, that's the theory, but they've officially said it's only going to be 50 minutes.
Oh, okay. So that means it's going to be like a half an hour with 20 minutes of.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit. It's going to be a slightly longer episode.
All right, I'm here for it.
I'm happy for whatever they give us, quite frankly. And for what it's worth, I don't think there's a lot. It's like, oh, there's so much to resolve. It's like, not really. It seems like we're just going to have a big battle. The battle's going to happen, and then we're going to decompress on the battle. But
or it's just going to give us the appetizer to a big battle that's coming, and then just say wait till Doctor Strange.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, there's going to be the Scarlet Witch will return in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Yeah. Assuming Ms. Olsen doesn't say something stupid on the internet between now and then. Fingers crossed. To be fair, she's been doing this a while. She knows what to do, and she also knows how to be a freaking actress. She knows how to be a public personality, and just to say, you know what, you really got to pick your battles. And you really do, because if you're a public person, you got to pick your battles. But you know what? That's not what we're here to talk about here today. We're here to talk about lots of things, including tweaked audio headsets, Mozz. See, you never wear the headsets, and that's why I think sometimes you don't hear what I say and why you disagree with me, because if you could only hear my flawless logic, you would say, oh, of course, Charlie, how could I disagree with that? But as I've said before, and I'll say again, you should go over to tweakedaudio.com, use the coupon code Southgate on checkout, and get a nice discount on these awesome headphones that you can purchase from those guys for just listening, to things. If you just want to listen to things in crystal clear audio at a fraction of name brand costs, with a discount on top of it. And that same discount you can use over at hunterkiller.com, where you can help Michelle Gray solve a cold case. So they're basically going to send you, if you like to theorize and wonder what could it mean, they're going to send you a whole box of random things that you then have to piece together to figure out, what does it all mean? And that sounds fun. If you like WandaVision, you're probably going to like Hunter Killer. Use that same coupon code Southgate upon checkout and get a nice discount. Likewise, if none of that really interests you, or if it does interest you, but you just want more because you are gluttonous and enjoy more and more and more, like maybe Agatha or maybe not, go down to our show links, click on the Amazon link, go to Amazon.com, buy anything you want. It really doesn't cost you a dime. Doesn't cost us a dime either, but it lets them know, oh, hey, look at that cookie that says they were listening to those guys. We will give them money, and we like money. And while you're there, check out Pod Life the book, a book written by the Southgate Media Group community about podcasting, because that's what we do. And you might enjoy it. And you can get that either in a delightful hard copy for your library for when society falls, or you can get it on a digital book, because really, once society falls and all digital data has been written, who's going to listen to podcasts anymore? So do that. And then if you do any of that, you can reach out to me and Mozz. And Mozz, if they want to reach out to us and talk to us, how can they do so?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzoor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzoor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, where our mothers and fathers, and probably even Director Hayward once did, and as Dr. Darcy did in the email that Vision intercepted a few episodes ago, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet the final season of a DuckTales, a woohoo, the Wuzzles are back. I repeat, the Wuzzles are back. And if you know what a Wuzzle is, you probably watched the last episode in awe, as I did, as they played with a dark, gritty reboot of the Wuzzles, and I am here for the dark, gritty reboot of the Wuzzles. So that is amazing. And you can follow me on Twitter as I live tweet that at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIE ESSER. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding.
Thank you, Mozz. And thank you, Tristan. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, you have listened to another broadcast of Nuff Said. We have listened to the fears and the worries of a penitent world as they deal with the gods and monsters and capes and lunatics who are out to destroy us and those who seek to protect us. Until next time, Nuff Said. Avast me hearties, and thank you for sailing with us once again on the high streams of the internet as we sail the seven seas of content. Oh, Disney Plus and Netflix and all the places in between. Join us again next week for the ultimate, not the penultimate, take a drink, episode of WandaVision and whatever we do next on Full Stream Ahead. Arg. Okay, that worked out great. Thank you, Mozz, for doing this for me. I really appreciate it. Send over the links, and we'll get this up. And then, we're going to have like a little waiting week. I don't think there's anything to do unless you really want to do something. And then,
aren't they going to do like, well, I mean, I don't know if it's worth doing a podcast about, but like that little in-between series doing behind-the-scenes stuff?
And we can look at that. And we can do that, sure.
Let's see what's there.
Yeah, we'll see what drops. Okay. Thank
All
you,
right, man.
Mozz.
Have a
I
great
will
night.
talk to you next week. Bye.